Hello, everybody. I hope that you are well. Hello, everybody. I hope that you are well. Happy Sunday. I hope that whatever you are and whatever you are doing, you are having an amazing weekend. Yes, you'll see I have not really prepared physically for this live stream. It is a Sunday after all, but I would like to make this very quick video to discuss honestly some things that have been happening in our industry, to respond to some questions that have been coming our way, and also to point out that if you watch the Chicken and Garden and the Sunday Musing over on Transport Evolved Take 2, you might notice that in those videos I am very down, very depressed, very frustrated, very despondent. Um, and the purpose of today's video is to let you know, A, I and the rest of the team, we're still here. We're still, going along the best we can. To respond to some of the criticism that has been happening of our news roundup show that went live yesterday, 10. Also to have a little chat with you all about the purpose of Transport Evolved, the purpose of our channel, why we exist, our principles, why we made an announcement this week, flatly calling out a certain EV CEO and saying that we believe he is now wholeheartedly aligned with a certain political party from 1930s Germany. I don't want to really focus on that too much. But I also want to discuss something that, just to make you all aware, we are in the process of being DDoSed or something similar. I got an email earlier on this afternoon from our caching service saying, yeah, there's been a large number of requests for one of your subdomains. And it was the Mastodon subdomain. And it looks like, based on what I can look at, a cursory look, it looks like someone's been trying to gain access to our Mastodon. It may not be related to things that we have said in the last week. It may be unrelated to what's been going on in the EV world of late. It might just be coincidence. But yep, someone's been knocking at our door for both our Mastodon server and also having a little peek at some of our other subdomains. I purposely am not going to make those subdomains public knowledge. I'm also in the process of considering shifting those to other domains that we own. One of the benefits of the caching service provider that we use is that it's pretty easy and quick to switch things from one domain to another with nary a problem. It kind of reinforces, though, why we made the decision a while ago to shift our email to a different country. So our email is now hosted in a completely different country. It's not hosted by Google anymore. It is fully secured down because one of you wonderful people reached out and was like, hey, people can send email pretending to be you. You do realize that. So we've fixed that security loophole. And we're basically moving everything in-house for the show. All of our, we previously used a VoIP service and we used like a Google service that was costing us, I think, probably about $120 a month. I'll have to look and figure that out. But we've gone basically in-house now with a lot of our stuff. I'm not going any further than that and telling you the specifics because that would be a security risk. But suffice to say, it looks like things are happening here. One of you's noticed that Mastodon is pretty inefficient. One of your posts getting shared can cause a sudden attack like flood of requests. So I hope that that's what it was. I think they were trying to look in. I need to look at the logs to figure out what it was, but we have everything cached. So this was uncached requests to our server that was, I think, causing the problem for our service provider. But anyway, it does mean if one of our Mastodon accounts disappears, we'll come back. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. Excuse me. There's definitely been a rise in spam and whatnot being sent our way. There's also some wonderful person who has signed up me. They figured out my email and signed me up for a bunch of right-wing conservative news things. Some of them were successful, and some of them just sent me an email going, "Hey, do you want to be part of this? Can you confirm?" And I'm like, "No, no, I do not wish. Thank you." All right. So you may notice that we now are banning people on YouTube. I want to be really clear here and say that um, we are not anti freedom of speech or anything like that. But it is not our job um, as a YouTube channel to freely allow people who have nothing but hate in their hearts to attack our community, our team, make threats, sometimes violent threats, that have been reported to YouTube and seemingly just disappear into the ether. One particular person in question has made explicit threats against our team under the guise of when President Trump comes back into office. And of course, President Trump is now back in office. If you have been watching the news, you will know what's been going on there. And so we made the decision to actually just suck it up and start blocking that level of hate. Unfortunately, our YouTube ad revenue has almost immediately tanked. It's the lowest I've ever seen it. I'm just going to be really open with you on that. But I've been speaking to other creators, and it seems that YouTube has basically started to the algorithm is really doing weird things. It's focusing on stuff that will get you angry and engaged and talking rather than actual news. And a lot of fake AI stuff and other stuff is being promoted. As a channel, as a content creation team, I don't know what that means for us looking forwards. But I will say that unless we can bridge the gap between what YouTube used to bring in and what it's bringing in now, it is going to be very difficult for us long term to be sustainable because um, YouTube is no longer really a sustainable business model. And that's why we're doing, I think we've talked about this before, we're doing we want to start doing a lot of third-party production work. Like, so we're setting up a new website, promoting our content, we're working on a show reel, showing some of the things that we can do. YouTube ad revenue is always down in January. You are quite right on that, but it is down like more than 60% on what it normally would be for January. You have to remember, I've been making YouTube videos for over a decade now. In fact, Transport Evolved, I know this because we've been doing our story page for our new website. Transport Evolved officially started in 2010. So this year we will be 15 years old. So I've been doing this a long time. I know how it works. The Transport Evolved YouTube channel is not 15 years old before someone checks and says, but you're only so many years old. It used to be published on a different YouTube channel before I really knew what I was doing. So the original YouTube channel is no more. But yeah, Transport Evolved has been making content online and doing YouTube stuff for 15 years now. So I've talked to you about my DDoS or our DDoS. I've talked to you about, some of our policies. Let's talk about this really quickly. So obviously at the presidential inauguration last week, a certain CEO of an automaker that is very, very closely connected with the EV world made a salute-like gesture that experts around the world took a sharp inhalation of breath over. There have been lots of excuses made about it. Some people have, as far as I'm concerned, very abhorrently made the excuse that that individual has autism as somebody who's in the process of being tested for that and as someone who has friends who are on the spectrum at various points. I think that is an abhorrent terrifying excuse to use, especially if you are the world's richest person. Um, you would have had somebody there to say, "Hey, that's not okay. What you're doing is not okay. Here's why," to help explain that. That individual cannot simultaneously be the world's wealthiest individual and also a genius and also have nobody there to say, "Hey, that's wrong. You should apologize." Um, the way it was received by supremacist groups keys into that very strongly, that it was what it appeared to be. And there was a group in Germany who projected that image and the video of that particular thing onto the side of the Gigafactory in Berlin, so much so that police in Germany are now investigating the activists who projected that video and the short documentary that they made to go with it, which we have personally linked to from our YouTube uh, page. They are now being uh, they are now being investigated for publicly displaying a prohibited image. And if the German um, government and the German police view that image as the verboten thing that we think it is, and they think it is, then arguing semantics over if it is or isn't is kind of a moot point, especially when said individual was yesterday live streamed into an AFD campaign event. They kind of joined via teleconference link, and that individual is actively supporting a German right-wing extremist political party, which has ties to that original 1930s organization. And as one of you wonderful people is saying, um, please ban the intolerant. As per the paradox of tolerance, if you tolerate the intolerant, it erodes tolerance for all others. So if we pretend that that is okay and that is normal and that is freedom of speech, then we actually are standing by while allowing that cancer to spread, that um, that opinion that goes against the societal norms of being nice and kind and considerate and empathic and wanting to help people. Our channel's focus is cleaner, greener, safer, smarter, and more equitable. Those are kind of our little buzzwords that we like to throw about. Cleaner because we want the air to be cleaner. We want there to be less fossil fuel or no fossil fuel in our future. Greener. We want our transportation and our energy future to be greener, to be more sustainable, to make use of sustainable sources of energy and storage that don't harm the planet as much as the fossil fuel industry has over our lifetime and our parents' lifetime and our grandparents' and our great-grandparents' lifetime. Safer. We want the world to be a safer place, both in terms of having technology that helps us stay safe on the road, but also by building societies that focus on things other than big giant vehicles with multi-ton weights that can just blat along at stupid speeds. Smarter. We want our transportation solutions to be smarter, and I don't mean self-driving. I mean we want solutions that are more keyed into the people who use them. So transportation structures that include multimodal forms of transport. You walk, cycle, ride the bus, drive to your local train station. You get on the train, you take the train, the high-speed rail to your nearest city or to the nearest large city. You get off, you maybe have an underground, or maybe you have a taxi, or maybe you walk, or maybe you ride a bike, you maybe have a scooter that you take on the train with you. And those multimodal forms of transport dramatically reduce congestion, dramatically reduce pollution, and dramatically increase the quality of life for everybody all as well. And finally, of course, more equitable. We want everybody to have access to this technology. It shouldn't just be something for rich people. It needs to be something for everyone. So cleaner, greener, safer, smarter, and more equitable. And we ask ourselves when we're working on stuff, is what we are doing, is what we are talking about more equitable? Is it better? Is it smarter? Is it going to have a net positive effect on the world? And if you're not willing to ask those questions, then really any kind of vehicle choice or gadget choice that you might make, it's not about anything other than your selfish needs. And sometimes we do make selfish decisions, right? When I decide to buy something for myself, take this keyboard, for example, right? It's a keyboard I have. It is not really making the world better for anybody else, right? It's making the world better for me. That's a purely selfish decision, and I decided to buy that. But when I buy that, okay, examine the company. Where does it come from? How is it operated? Is this something that I'm comfortable with? And the same needs to be true when we talk about our housing choices, our gadget choices, our transportation choices. Is this better for other people as well as better for me? Is making this decision actually going to make the world better for me in 10 years or 20 years or 30 years or 40 years? When we bought this house, we live up in the foothills of the Coast Range here in Oregon. When we bought the house for a selfish reason. We wanted to live in the country, but we've also been building up the house in a way that allows us to have a long, healthy quality of life well into retirement if we're still here, of course. We can't change what's happened. I hope that the future doesn't get worse. But anyway, this is where we are at. This is what we are trying to do. And we put heat pumps in, we put solar panels in. We did that because we want to have a long, sustainable existence here. We want to have as green an existence as possible, using as little energy as possible, trying to live as minimally impactful, sorry, to have a minimal impact on the area in which we live. So this is an interesting we I'm seeing some lovely comments here, and I'm not talking I'm not going to talk through all of the comments because I want to try and keep my train of thought as concise and succinct as possible, because I know that very often I tend to go off the rails. All right, so let's talk about, so we talked about our editorial policy, and basically we are no longer focusing on that company. While that individual, the one who pulled you know what last week at President Trump's inauguration, while that person is still aligning themselves with right-wing extremists who are anti-LGBTQ, anti-immigrant, anti anything other than I'm afraid I'm going to use the term Aryan white people, we owe it to ourselves as a diverse group of creators to go, hey, that is not okay. We don't support this company. This founder has made a choice. This CEO has made a choice, and we are not going to promote them. We're not going to give them airtime. A lot of people will find that frustrating. So I'm going to give you a bit of a history lesson here, and I'm not saying that it was right. But when I grew up in the 1980s, there was a policy on the BBC that they wouldn't give the IRA, which was at the time in its most devastating phase of terrorism. It wouldn't give the IRA a voice on television, which I thought was very stupid at the time, especially when they had an actor read the statements, which just didn't make sense. But that was very different, I feel, to where we're at now, because where we're at now is we can say we have a different social media, we have a different way of consuming media. Back then, you had to go to big national newspapers and organizations for your news. Now everybody gets it through social media. And when everybody gets it through social media and there are no barriers and no walls, it's very easy for hate to spread. And so we're saying, hey, no, we're not giving any attention to this person. We are not exactly boycotting, but we're not going to support a company whose leader is outright supporting fascism in that particular way. I know that will be very upset with a lot of people. And if you are going to start yelling at us in the comments, we will politely ban you. It's not, YouTube is a private company. And if YouTube is unwilling to have an editorial policy that protects us, in other words, allows hate speech to just happen, allows gaslighting, then we're gonna have to moderate it ourselves, and that's what we're doing. And if our content, our income suffers, that is where we are at. And I would urge all of you who are willing to do what we're doing. We do have a Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/transport evolved, you will see where we're at. And yes, I'm going to say the person's name. I'm trying not to, but we will not be covering Elon Musk or Tesla normally. There may be exceptions. If there is a super big story, we may cover it, but for the most part, from now on, we are not going to cover it. There are plenty of fan channels out there who are salivating over everything that he says and does, and there are YouTube channels, because you've told me, who are making excuses for and failing to acknowledge what is readily available in the public domain today and all of the connections. If it was just one action, like the salute, without anything else, yeah, sure, but it's on top, right? It's the Tower of Babel. How about that? It's the Tower of Babel of evidence that would be very difficult to be constructed purely by coincidence. And I'm not willing to platform that. So there we go. So let me just give you all the URLs here. It would help if I turn my keyboard on. Patreon. All right, there you go. All right, so next, let's talk about what we did at the weekend. Actually, no, I do want to talk a little bit about the. I want to talk about that person a little bit more, because a lot of people we had quite a few people in our comment section going, oh, but what about Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren or Obama or whoever else had done a hand wave that looked similar in a still. And to that, I will go, there are lots of videos online showing the difference between what happened last Monday on stage on national television, played in its full entirety, compared to the salutes being performed by actual factual fascists, both in the US and around the world, and the coincidental hand positions that happened when other politicians and famous people had a particular gesture freeze framed. So there's a difference between a freeze frame that looks like a salute versus an actual factual salute. And if you play those other videos of those other people that were, the whataboutists came along with, it's very clear there's a very big difference. So that's where we're at with that. We're not going to cover him. We're not going to platform him. And if you come onto this channel and you harass us, you will get banned. Dead name us, you will be banned. I have been beset by emails. And one of the reasons why our Sunday Museum and Chicken and Garden and 10 was I was so out. I was so angry. Sorry, my camera is automatically focusing because I was waving my hand. The reason why that was so much of a problem for us sorry, not so much of a problem, why I looked so depressed is because I was down. I was depressed. I am scared. Last week, Donald Trump signed executive orders that effectively makes life difficult for myself and people I care about. And that includes members of my team as well. So it's not just a personal thing. Um, Reneging people's rights to have um, their gender represented, forcing people either out of the closet or back in it, depending on which way around you look at it. And just generally uh, terrorizing minority communities. I know people who are terrified, who just do not want to go out. I am one of them. I don't want to go out. Uh, I already had become a little bit of a social recluse, and when you watch me on YouTube, whether it's a live video, whether it is a pre-recorded, you're not seeing me. You're seeing a persona of me. Now, I like to think that the me that you meet in real life, see on camera, are pretty similar. I know that's not always going to be true, but I mask. It takes a lot of physical energy and mental energy for me to pretend to be normal on camera. The way my brain works is not normal, it's not normative, and a lot of my thought processes can really become dysregulated. I suck at compartmentalization. Um, I have never been able to do it. Most of my friends and family can. I can't. So I will hyperfixate on something and I will hyperfixate on emotions as well. So if I'm feeling down, if something is broken, anything else like that, it really makes it difficult for me to focus on stuff. And oh look, we've got some horrible people in our chat. I do apologize. See, they just come out of the woodwork. They really do. I am just okay. Just banning some people. Yep, very good. Keep going. All right. So, I'm sorry. I should have added a mod to this. Um, but yeah, someone was just saying that they have a grandson with autism and they are lovely. And yeah, I don't know anybody with autism who would use that diagnosis as an excuse for such an abhorrent, hateful act. Anyway, where was I? Right. So, um, on Friday, on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, those videos, the ones that are due to go out. There's one more due to go out where I act struck. I'm sorry, I'm doing it now. Where I struggle to think of words and put words in a sentence. I made an editorial decision. I didn't consciously do it, but I am part of multiple minority groups, right? I am also an American citizen. I also happen to be a British citizen and a Canadian citizen. Go me, I'm lucky. But I am a card carrying US citizen. I vote, as I think everybody should. And the outcome of the last election has had a dramatic and devastating effect on communities that I care deeply about, people that I care deeply about. I have a I have people who are genuinely worried for their life. And let's I want to keep talking here because I'm just reading another comment here. You're a very talented journalist. I liked your channel better before you introduced your personal political agendas. Okay. So I don't know if you saw the beginning where we talked about cleaner, greener, safer, smarter, and more equitable. I am not a monkey with a performance speciality. I'm a human being. And the problem with social media, and this has existed since the very early days of social media, is that society has made it unacceptable for people to not be okay. And society has made it okay for us to lie to each other about what we did. So if I post an image online of a wonderful meal that I had out with family and friends, and it looks really expensive and exquisite, and I'm wearing a nice, maybe I'm wearing a nice dress, or maybe I'm just wearing some nice comfy clothes, and my face is all made up and my hair looks great. People looking at that who may not know me go, wow, she has such an amazing life. I wish I could be her. Or I wish I had that meal. Or I should go there, right? Social media is built on lying to other people about how amazing your life is. And we discourage people, sometimes explicitly, as some people are trying to now, and sometimes indirectly, we discourage people from being honest about what's going on. And as a Brit, I am very acutely aware of the stiff upper lip, the keep calm and carry on, the world is going to hell in a handbasket, but I'm just going to keep on keeping on. And I feel that that has become bastardized today, partly thanks to social media and the memes. It literally used to mean, okay, things are bad, but we have to keep going. We must resist. We must resist what would otherwise be if we just gave up, which obviously in 1930s and 40s Europe was the rise of Hitler. If we quit, if we stop, fascism wins, right? That's literally where the basis of that keep calm and carry on and stiff upper lip comes from. Don't let the enemy see that it is affecting you. That's good. But here's the thing. We have got so good at lying to each other on social media about how wonderful our lives are, what we do, and how we do it. We forget that we're all human as well. I mean, if I told you that yesterday afternoon I went and spent 2 hours cleaning the dust in our family room and then vacuuming the house, right? Someone somewhere is going to go, wow, Nikki vacuums. She doesn't have someone doing it for her. She has to do it too, right? And sometimes a bit of grittiness, a bit of reality is important. And that is especially important when discussing things that are not visible. I suffer from a very rare genetic condition for which I take medication every day. I am lucky. 2 of my family members, 3 of my family members, 3, 4, many of my family members, actually it's 4 of my family members, have implanted devices because they have the same condition that I do. Our hearts don't repolarize properly. It's called long QT syndrome. So your heart goes ba-bum, ba-bum. That's 4 chambers and ba-bum, ba-bum. And in long QT syndrome, your heart doesn't repolarize quickly enough between the second and the fourth beats. It primarily affects young people, although the version we have seems to affect you as you get older. I am on medication to slow my heartbeat. So my heartbeat is often too slow. But it's better that my heart is too slow because if my heart was too fast, I could develop a dangerous heart rhythm, which would cause me to have a cardiac arrest. which is something you can't come back from very easily. So when I fly, when I travel away from this area, in this area, I know where all the hospitals are and all the people who are with me know I have it. I have a Medi Alert bracelet. When I fly, I take a defibrillator with me, take it on the plane defibrillator. And I always pre-board when I get on that plane. And the reason I always pre-board is because when I get on the plane, I normally make a joke to the flight attendants and go, "Hi, this is my defibrillator. I'm okay right now." Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I go, "I'm feeling a little faint, but I've got a friend with me. I'm fine." But hi, I've got a defibrillator. Sometimes it's a little naughty and it goes beep during the flight, which it did once, and people thought it was a bomb. It was very embarrassing. I don't obviously use that phrase with them. They know what I mean. And I go, "Hi, I've got this. This is what I have. It goes off sometimes. Don't worry if it does. If you hear a strange noise, come find me. It's probably that." And the reason it goes off is because TSA agents are horrible and they insist on trying to unpack it and tear it apart. And sometimes they break it and it starts making random noises. But I always pre-board. Now, a lot of people say, "Well, why do you pre-board? You don't need extra time getting on the plane. You don't need assistance to get on the plane unless I'm feeling really bad. Why do you get on the plane?" And I go, "Because it is actually the time that I get in that first 20 seconds to actually make contact with the flight team so they know, the cabin crew know who I am, where I'm sitting, and if something weird happens, they know a little bit about me." Because occasionally, if I have a really low heartbeat when I get on a plane, it's a certain time of day, sometimes I will pass out when the plane takes off because my blood pressure is just so low that I will just pass out. And that's because of the medication, not because of the condition. Um, the reason I talk about all of that, the reason I tell people is because it's not visible, right? It's not visible. And the threats that we get on our channel from people who wish to do us harm, and the effects of Donald Trump's effective ban of anything that is not sex assigned at birth, impacts us as a team very, very heavily. And if we don't talk about them, if we don't show you how it is affecting us, it is such a niche thing. I know that the Republican Party likes to think it's not and scaremongers away a whole load of things, but it is so out of the wheelhouse of most people that even if a law passes, if they are not somebody who is intrinsically empathic to the needs of others, if they exist in their own little bubble and their bubble is focusing on selfish things like what's the next gadget I'm going to buy, where am I going to go for my holiday, and I'm using selfish not in a derogatory term. I'm saying it's stuff that they're focusing on, right? Maybe they don't have the spare cycles to look at other people and go, how is that person existing? But if I don't actually go, "Hey, life is really crap right now. This is having an effect on me." You, if you are watching this as someone who isn't in that community, might look at it and go, "But it's not a big deal. I know this person. This person is not affected by this. It's clearly just nothing." If I let you know how I'm actually feeling, if we talk about policies that affect us as a team, if we talk about policies that affect us as a wider community, then we are bringing you in and showing you the impacts, which hopefully will allow you to see how devastating some of this stuff is. And it is not that we are trying to make you feel sorry for us. It is that we are letting you see behind the curtain. Being honest about how we are feeling, being honest about how we feel with our communities and the impact of things that are happening for us. And thank you very much, Mark. You're very kind. If we are not honest about those things and we pretend that everything's okay, you then might assume as a viewer that everything is okay and you don't need to worry about it. It's kind of the canary in the coal mine thing, right? If you have a canary in a cage and the canary drops down in the coal mine and dies, you go, oh, crap, this is not good, right? Whereas if you just put a fake canary in there, you wouldn't know. So showing our fear is important. Talking about the impacts of policies is important. And people say, well, you shouldn't be bringing politics into this. And to that, let's talk about one thing. It's so interesting, but I'm starving. Alex, thank you for joining me. Please watch this when we're done. When we talk about politics, it is because we feel we need to highlight and provide context. And there's a famous quote that is attributed, I'm going to find it now. There is a quote that is credited to Hubert McWhinney in Texas as once saying that if Jimmy Allred says it's raining and W. Lee O'Daniel says it isn't raining, Texas newspapermen quote them both and don't look out the window to see which is lying and to tell the readers what the truth is at the moment. Both siderisms going, well, this person says this, but this person says this, is just is not always the way to do it. Sometimes you have to go, this person says this, and this person says this, and we think they're lying. And as Mike very wonderfully puts it, thank you, Mike, absolute star. We need to know what your wheelhouse is like, or we are going to find it difficult to know you need our help. We need your help. All of the minorities in the US who are being impacted need your all's help. This is about resistance. This is about standing up to power. And this is about saying, hey, this isn't what we want. Empathy is one of the most important skills that humans have, right? And other animals have it too. If I am sad, my dogs come and comfort me, right? I'm sure if you have pets, you've experienced this too. Emotional empathy and understanding is important. And if you cannot see the world through somebody else's eyes and you do not know what that world looks like to that person, then you will never know what that person has. And it becomes easier. It is easier to other people if you view someone as bad, as demonic, as demented, as all of these other negative words. When we, as a community, as a team, decided to leave Facebook, we did so because Facebook's management had explicitly said that it was okay to demonize LGBTQIA plus people. And we were like, as LGBTQIA plus people, we don't think that's okay. And so we said, hey, if your community says that it's okay to call us ill or evil or whatever, then we don't need that. We have other communities to go to. And I hear what you're saying, Nettle Soup. What you're saying about easier to view someone as demonic applies equally to those who perceive a former CEO, the aforementioned CEO as demonic. And I want to make it very clear, I do not believe that individual is demonic. Okay? I do not believe that person is beyond redemption or anything like that. That's what I think of when I think of demonic. I always think we use that term as being something that is subhuman or what. I don't think any human is subhuman, right? I think everybody has a chance to redeem themselves and everybody has a chance to build a community that makes the world better rather than worse. However, when an individual is doing something so abhorrent, pouring gasoline on the fire and giving them a voice is not okay. Normalizing their behavior is not okay. Saying you are being a hateful individual right now, this is not the way, is totally okay. Saying this is wrong, we must speak up when someone does something that harms other people and that causes pain and suffering to other people. And that's what we're seeing in America right now. We're seeing people who want what they want just for themselves, who have become incredibly rich off of pain and suffering of other people, and misinformation and disinformation and just school children-esque behavior. I don't even going to say that. I'm going to say emotionally immature behavior. We have to say, hey, that's not okay. That's not okay. Hi. Empathy is important. So important. So, our duty to you is the final point I wanted to make. We've talked about showing our feelings. We've talked about our job is not to look out and say whether it's our job is not to say that Fred says it's raining and Charlie says it's snowing and figure out who is right. It's to look out the bloody window and go, oh, yeah, I guess it is snowing. And then look out a bit later on and go, now it's turned to rain. So they're both right. Showing our fear, we talked about that, talked about being honest with our feelings and how we feel as a company and a community and why we've made these changes. And a lot of people said, it's beneath you to show your emotion. No, we build on empathy. We build relationships on empathy. We are honest. Honesty is at the heart of everything we do. We try and strive for evidence-based reporting. We strive for weighing up all the evidence we have and going, okay, this is where it's at. A lot of the time people give us a hard time when we report something and we mention that somebody else reported it. We are very clear where we get our sources from because it's a cover our backs move, right? If we didn't write the story, we just say that this outlet wrote the story and that we haven't been able to reach company T for clarification because it doesn't have a press department. I mean, I just want you to understand here, if a big story breaks with a major automaker, we reach out to them and go, hey, do you have an update? And 99 times out of 100, we hear back within 2 days. But what we're seeing in America right now is an erasure of history. For example, the Air Force no longer teaching about the Tuskegee Airmen, the black pilots who played such an important role in World War II, or talking about the women who were ferry pilots who flew planes over the freaking Atlantic Ocean to Europe so that they could be used in battles. Erasing those two groups of individuals from the history books is abhorrent and is we need to speak out about that kind of thing. And when a company does something that we don't like, we don't think is smart or kind or good, we speak out about it. We gave Toyota a right hard time at the beginning of last week, talking about how Toyota had paid its way, and some other automakers, including Ford and GM, still giving way too much money to politicians who don't believe climate change. And without highlighting that, without talking about that politics, what do we have? Like, seriously, if we stop reporting the news that was connected to politics, what would we have? Would it be an advert? Like, Ford has just announced the new Ford Amazo EV. It's priced at $63,272 and has a claimed range of X. That would be it. That's not going to benefit anybody, really. All right. So the last thing is, what is our duty? Our duty is to help build a cleaner, greener, safer, smarter, and more equitable world. And that means sometimes we have to say tough stuff. Sometimes we have to say stuff that's unpopular. Sometimes you just have to get you thinking. Sometimes we have to encourage you to think outside of the box or to do new and exciting things. And sometimes um, there was not a missing 10 episode. Sorry, I just saw this. Someone said, don't stress, read January, suspect you're missing 10 episode. Nope. We had a week off at the beginning of January, 1 week. January 1st, we did not make one because so it will be January 3rd. There was not an episode on January 3rd. It was the 10th, the 17th, and the 25th. We didn't do one on the first week of January because 10 takes 3 days. We start work on it on a Wednesday. We write the script on a Thursday and film it on a Thursday, and on a Friday I spend all day editing it. So yeah, that's why there wasn't one that week. But every week, we cannot be passive observers either. And we cannot be the type of people to come back and say, oh, we have this piece of paper that says that Hitler isn't going to invade. And if you are, I hope we are all students of history, assuming we all went to school and got a decent stuff. Then we have to say what these things are. I'm just going to check here. So there are people criticizing us for saying we're not going to cover the company. Look, I'm not going to be able to keep everybody happy all of the time, and people who are upset because we don't because we let our emotions show. If you hadn't seen me looking upset and showing how I really felt, would you have thought twice about some of the measures that are coming into force in the US right now? Or how scared I am when I go out in public? Just throw this in. If you ever bump into me in public, give me a little bit of grace, because very often I am head down in my own little world, not wanting to talk to anybody. And that is not that I do not want to talk to you. It is that I am trying to keep myself safe. And I'm going to ignore the chat right now because I can see things are getting nasty. So I just want to remind people to be kind to one another. I have existed as me for 24 years. I'm 46 this year. I'll let you do the math. In all of that time, I have never felt petrified in public as much as I do now. I have friends who don't drink when they go out. I mean, they don't consume any fluid, because then they don't have to go to the restroom, because then they don't have to be harassed, because then they don't have someone harassing them, because then they are safe. I recently drove down to Eugene in Oregon to pick up some flour from a local mill, and we purposely drove slowly. We went down at like 55, we came back at like 50. We came back on the back roads. We did that because we didn't want to stop and charge, because I didn't want to have to stop and deal with people, because I didn't want to have to deal with someone being hateful. Because I've dealt with that before. And so I live out here because it's quiet and I don't have to interact with people. And there was once or twice actually, some wonderful people have stopped and talked to me on my driveway who clearly know who I am, and it has been the most scary experience. I just want you to understand that that's not normal. Like, it's not normal to know the name of the person that you've never met and to just strike up a conversation. It might feel okay and normal and whatever. That's the whole parasocial thing. But it's terrifying for um it's terrifying. And having people force me uh to take away rights that I've had and bothered nobody for more than half of my life is terrifying. So to pretend that everything is okay, lets me down, it lets everybody else down, it lets you down. And it's being very disingenuous and very dishonest. And we try to be honest. We try to tell you what's really going on. And we tell you that we tell you when we are happy, we tell you when we are sad. If we can't be honest with you about those things, why would you trust us in other stuff that we say? Why um why should we as a society trust people don't who can't who don't feel able to be open and honest with us? Like, if I am hiding a large amount of things from you, if I pretend that everything is fine, why should you trust me when I say this car company makes a great car? Or this particular model is great? Or you should go and do this, this, and this? Tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, maybe later in the week, I'm going to make a video about OBD2 dongles and why everybody needs one. And it's going to be more of a tutorial thing. We've got this big vibe going on this year, and we're talking about cleaner, greener, safer, and smarter vehicles, but also building resilience in our communities. And one of the things that I want to talk to you all about in that, by the way, thank you, Amory. Thank you. One of the things I want to talk to you about in that is using your phone and a Bluetooth dongle to interrogate your EV battery pack to figure out, can I fix this? Can I get it working? And I'm also exploring my own repair journey with my bike, because I believe that knowledge is power. And the more knowledgeable we are and the more informed we are, the better human beings we are. And when I mean knowledge, I mean stuff that we've actually studied, not whatever we've heard on a social media site. So we all owe it to each other to become more informed, more aware, more empathic. Is the fundamental part of what makes us humans different. Finally, I know I said finally previously, but this is a thought I meant to say earlier and I didn't. Storytellers and news people and entertainers, and I don't know which of those categories you want to put us in. Sometimes we're all three, sometimes we're none of them. Have for years talked truth to power through their output, whether that is plays, musicals, pieces of music, whether that is poems, whether that's reporting, whether that's films, whether that's artwork. We have told truths through what we do. We've just celebrated the holiday season, and obviously one of the first authors who's well known for that is Charles Dickens, who A Christmas Carol was a morality tale about seeing the world, not being greedy and taking everything for yourself and having no empathy for others, but learning to be empathic, learning what it means to live in a community and live in a world of the people, and to be kind and to give your free time, and to, yes, if you have money, to donate to those less fortunate. Those that story is popular for that reason. Other Charles Dickens stories are also cemented in believable, tangible characters that have real challenges, and sometimes they succeed in overcoming them, sometimes they need help. Shakespeare was another great writer who told stories and sent messages through his work. And I mean, I could pick any one of his plays really, and or any of his other work, and point out moments where he is talking about the consequences of a particular path. We could go even further. Great literature does this all the time. Great news does this sometimes. And I am really sorry that there is somebody spouting nonsense in the comments. I don't want to lose my train of thought. But if you support, let me just be really clear here, and I'm going to say it without swearing because I've managed to not swear the entire stream. If you think it's okay to dehumanize and other people because of their identity, who they pray to, where they come from, how they earn their money, that is not Christian. I also know that the letter being quoted at people in the comment section right now was written by somebody who was responsible for hundreds of years of mistreatment of women because he was a misogynist. So, and by the way, I'm married to someone who has a degree in religious studies. I've picked a lot of stuff up. My late sister was a priest. I've picked a lot of stuff up. I loved my sister. She rocked. I've picked a lot of stuff up. And I'm an atheist because I was brought up in the church and I learned a lot of stuff. And you are allowed to believe in whatever God you wish. But as soon as your belief goes out of your head and into the bedrooms or the lives of other people, you are crossing a line, not them. It's the same in EV world. It's the same in everything else. Be considerate, be kind, and ask yourself, is the world going to be cleaner, greener, safer, smarter, or more equitable if I do this thing? And if the answer is no, you have a problem. Thank you very much for all of your comments. And I really do mean all of your comments. There's going to be some more videos coming. I took the Vectrex VX1 a little bit further apart yesterday. There's a tail light. If you follow me on Mastodon, you'll see a picture. There's a tail light circuit board that has got a blown MOSFET on it that is tiny, which I need to replace. I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to try and source some Nissan Leaf battery cells for the Vectrex VX1. I'm looking for the new Gen 4 40 kilowatt hour or 62 kilowatt hour Nissan Leaf batteries. Haven't been able to find any yet, but if I can find them, then I will have 15 kilowatt hours of storage in that. So that will be good. Vectrex, not the gaming console, although they are awesome. Vectrex VECTRIX VX1. It's on our channel. Go watch the videos. We've got plenty. It's very, very good. Maybe it's the masking, maybe it's like the roller coaster of Greece, but you seem to be in a better place today. I'm masking today. I'm not angry to the point of not being able to function. So there we go. So we'll be doing more great videos. Kate's got some great videos coming, working on a CHAdeMO to Nissan Leaf / Kia Niro adapter. She's got 2 on loan right now that she's testing. There'll be videos coming on that soon. And of course, we will carry on giving you the news, and that means politics. Keep evolving. Thanks for joining me. Oh, and support us, patreon.com/transportevolved.